Hey, I'm Chad Millman, and did you know that Phil Steele has forgotten more about college football than you'll ever know? And on the latest Behind the Bets podcast, he reveals all in his summer betting guide. Subscribe to the podcast from the Listen tab in the ESPN app.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head the dirt. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me a boom.
It's Friday. I'm David Jacoby. He is Jalen Rose, and we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What do we do, Jalen?
We give the people what they want.
The people may not have wanted it, but they got it. Kevin Durant is officially a Golden State Warrior. Did the press conference, he put the uniform on, and when I looked at him in that uniform, I was like, man, they are stacked. And here's what he had to say when they were asking him about how long he will stay in Golden State. He said, I plan on being here. I don't want to go through that again. Now, this is a man that signed a 2-year deal with a player option after 1 year. So I know we haven't even seen him play a single game for the Warriors, but what do we expect for him in the long term in this franchise?
I think the goal is exactly what he said, to be a Golden State Warrior for as long as possible. You're going to see adjustments in the salary cap. Their team is going to hit turbulence during games. They're going to struggle at times to get chemistry. It's not going to be the kind of guy that leads the league in scoring anymore. He's not going to be the type of player that plays 40 minutes on average. But at the same time, the decision was made for his future. And the goal is to see how many rings he can accumulate as a member of that team.
Now, the Warriors used to be this plucky little upstart, lovable little team that was playing a new way, and now they're a super team. And they're looked at as villains, and Kevin Durant was asked about this at his press conference.
We live in this superhero comic book world where, we're either you're a villain or you're a superhero if you're up at in this position, and I know that, and I know I haven't changed as a person. I don't treat people any differently because I made a decision to play basketball in another city. And I understand the fans in Oklahoma City and everybody, basketball fans around the world are, I guess, upset. But like I said, I made a decision based upon what I wanted to do and how I felt. And, it's the best decision for me. So,
are the Warriors the villains of the NBA?
That's not the term that I'm going to go by, and I know a lot of people like to use it. It's the David and Goliath theory. It's the favorite versus the underdog. When you're the team that now has 4 of the players that are going to be Western Conference All-Stars, when you have 3 of the 12 players that are going to be on Team USA, yes, you're going to have people wanting to see you lose. You want to have teams that show up and try to play their best game against you. You're going to have fan bases when Kevin Durant goes back and plays against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oh, man, you don't think that they're going to have poster boards of that 2010 tweet about joining teams and like the Heat and the Lakers were doing at that time? I expect 25,000 people to have that tweet on a poster board. That's just how it works. I know he understands that, and I know he's ready to deal with it.
So you had a little theme song for Kevin Durant last year. What was that?
Oh, man, it's crazy. Now the year's new. I lay my game flat. I want my spot back.
Now the year's new. I lay my game flat. I want my spot back.
And now you have a new theme song for Mr. Durant that you came up with, and I'll give you credit. You came up with this on the spot yesterday. What was that?
We got a really big team. They need some really big rings.
So, during the 2-hour meeting with the Golden State Warriors in which they pitched Kevin Durant on coming to Silicon Valley, they did something that was very Silicon Valley-ish. They had him put on one of those virtual reality headsets. You know those? Have you ever used one of those? I've never used one of those. So
I have used one at the Owners Summit as they were being debuted by their owner.
Okay. Well, they had him, flying through the Golden State Bridge, and they put him in the locker room listening to Steve Kerr and at the practice facility, and they ended it with a song by Aubrey Graham, better known as Drake. And what song do you think that was, Mr. Rose?
We got a really big team, and they need some really big rings.
Well, apparently it worked because now we have Kevin Durant on the Warriors. And he was asked about his relationship with Russell Westbrook and how Russell would react to the news and how that went down. And here's what he had to say.
You know, we had great years, man. It's something that you'll never take away from us. But like I said, it's I wanted a new chapter in my life. I felt like it was time for it, and I made this decision. And like I couldn't consider totally everybody's feelings at this point because it'd be hard to.
How do you think the relationship between him and Westbrook will go from here?
I think while Russell Westbrook still is a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder, his former teammate put him in an awkward spot because now he's looked upon to be the savior, not only on the basketball court, but also moving forward. So every time he goes to the market, to the gas station, goes to the practice facility, goes to games, all of the fans are going to say, Russell, please don't leave us like KD did. And so now he's got to bear that burden, especially without playing with a former MVP.
Well, he has to bear that burden until he gets traded later on this season because let's be honest, Jalen Rose, he is going to be traded by the Thunder. Don't you think so?
I do think so. Two destinations that stand out to me, Sam Presti's relationship with Greg Popovich in San Antonio. That seems like it'd be a good landing spot. If he want to go to a team that has championship pedigree, or if he want to go to a team that's trying to get there, what about Minnesota with Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins and that talent that they have accumulated and possibly the talent they have to possibly trade in order to acquire Russell Westbrook.
Wait a second. Because I always hear the Celtics, they've got the assets, they're looking to trade. And then I always hear the Lakers because he's from there. And then you brought up the Spurs thing with Sam Presti. But what is it about Minnesota that makes them a potential landing spot for Westbrook?
Because it's going to be two frames of reference when you're an all-NBA performer like Russell Westbrook. You're going to go to a team that's done it or go to a team that's hungry to do it. And to me, those are the two teams that stand out as pillars in that conversation based on the relationships that have taken place throughout the league.
Okay. Royce Young, the Thunder expert, the Thunder insider for this very network, ESPN, he had this to say about Durant. I found this really interesting. This is his tweet, quote, Durant says this is the hardest road, not the easiest to a championship. Now, I often ask you to translate what someone means, especially NBA athletes, but I have no idea what he could possibly mean by saying this is the hardest road to a championship.
Well, it's double speak because before you talked about them saying that they were going to be what? The villains. Mm-hmm. So you can't be the villain and then assume that you're taking the toughest road. When he was sitting in there with those goggles on and he was going over the Bay Bridge and he's listening to MC Hammer and E40 and Steve Kerr in the locker room, he knew exactly what he was signing up for, and rightfully so. Again, we talked about that on this program. It's great to be out there playing basketball with four other guys that actually know how to play, how to dribble, pass, and shoot. But here's the thing I want to break down for everybody.
Do it.
When you go to the court, the best two players usually are the ones that pick the teams. Why? For competitive balance. So when these guys continue to join forces after you were up 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors, now that's like going to the park and the two best players start off on the same team.
You and this competitive balance thing, Jalen. You and the competitive balance. It seems like every single ex-NBA player is so mad about this. And you know what? Every single NBA fan.
Apartment, couture from the store's departments. You more like love to start. I'm more of the trips to Florida, order the hors d'oeuvres, views of the water, straight from a page of your favorite author.
You're familiar with the University of Michigan, right?
Their mascot is Wolverines.
Wolverine. Are there actual Wolverines like the animal in Michigan?
I hope so.
I don't think so. However, there are actual Wolverines in the NBA, one of which is a gentleman who I relate to, I love, by the name of Mitch McGary.
Well, I'll name all of them for you. It's not that many. Let me see if I can name them.
Okay.
Jamal Crawford, Trey Burke, Glenn Robinson III, Karis LeVert, Nick Stauskas, and Mitch McGary.
However, Mr. McGary will not be playing basketball for 5 games next year. You'll never believe why, Jalen. I'll just give you one guess. Why do you think Mr. McGary got suspended for 5 games?
Unfortunately, I think it may be the same reason why he avoided being suspended by the NCAA for 1 year and entered the NBA draft. Medicinal issues.
He is a habitual medicinal line stepper.
He's a habitual line stepper.
So there we have it. Mitch McGary, 5-game suspension. Now we also have this from Rajon Rondo, who found himself all of a sudden with Dwayne Wade as a teammate. He already knew he was joining Jimmy Butler, so he says there are 3 alpha dogs on the team and that he's going to make it all work. But when asked about the pecking order of those alpha dogs, he said, quote, "It's Jimmy's team." Do you think the Bulls are Jimmy Butler's team?
They are. He has the biggest contract, the biggest responsibility. When they traded Derrick Rose, when they allowed Pau Gasol to leave, when they demoted Joakim Noah, all former All-Stars, they put him in a position to be the best player on the team. So I don't think that's breaking news.
It is not, but it's interesting to think that Rajon Rondo, who right now, it's always all good in the summer. It's always all good as you're heading into the season. But we know after a lot of losses last year, there's a lot of quotes and sort of subtle digs about Hoiberg and his leadership style. Some people thought that he was too nice. Can you see Rajon Rondo and Hoiberg having problems later on this season?
Well, the style of play that Fred wanted to institute in Chicago with Dwayne Wade, who's a slasher, a really good mid-range shooter, and also a guy that can score 20 points but inside the three-point line, and Rajon Rondo, who's a ball-dominant point guard who did lead the league in assists, they're not spreading the floor because neither one of those guys are three-point shooters, and that's to say it lightly. But the one thing the Bulls have done consistently that their fans should be proud of, they draft really well. McDermott, Mirotic, Portis, Valentine. So I think they hope those young players are going to continue to improve while Dwayne Wade and Rajon Rondo continue to ingratiate themselves in the roster.
Young player that the Lakers are hoping will continue to improve is a gentleman by the name of Jordan Clarkson. Now, he's been in the news lately, not because of basketball, not because of Summer League, not because he was working out, not even like Nick Young. He was holding a firework above his head. He is in the news because he is casually dating Kendall Jenner. Now, if you had some advice for young Mr. Clarkson, what would that advice be? If you could sum your advice up in one word, what would that be? Run away, Mr. Clarkson. There is nothing good for you there. There's a long track record of human beings that date one of the Kardashian-Jenner clan, and those human beings' lives just fall apart afterwards. Run, Mr. Clarkson. Run like D'Angelo Russell was following you with a cell phone camera. Just get out. Just stop it. Just stop it. There's a new free agency signing. There's only so many left out there still yet to be signed. Somehow no one signed Lance Stevenson. Come on, Lance. Get a team. He's on Instagram, post himself shooting jump shots, post himself working out. He's just selling himself. But Alan Crabb, almost a Google guy. He's kind of a Google guy. Well, he is signed with the Nets. You'll never believe this, Jalen Rose. 4 years, $75 million.
Good Lord, that's a lot of money.
4 years, $75 million for Alan Crabb. So now we have a Jeremy Lin, Alan Crabb backcourt in Brooklyn. Will it matter?
It'll matter on the 1st and the 15th for those two players. I liked Crabb coming out of college. I thought he was overlooked. A combination guard that can make threes, a guy that can give you some toughness on the defensive end, and I do like his potential. And when you see the contract that he got, you're going to probably have to look twice because he wasn't a consistent starter. Nope. Though he played contributing minutes for a playoff team in Portland.
Played well.
He hasn't been a guy that led a team in points, rebounds, or assists just yet. But again, I've already acknowledged you can't judge today's NBA player by their contract. they're getting 50% of basketball revenue. It just shows when your favorite team, in this case the Nets, sign 2 players that you think may or may not become great players or future all-stars, it just shows the desperation of teams trying to fill out their rosters.
Another team filling out their roster that Crab just left is the Portland Trailblazers. They have signed Festus Ezeli. He signed 2 years, $16 million. He was allegedly looking for 70, so he settled for just, $54 million short of that. But my question is this. You've got Bogut gone, Ezeli gone, Barbosa gone, Barnes gone. Is the depletion of the Warriors bench something that they should worry about as they head into this season?
It is, because they talked about, and it was their rally cry last year, strength in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And
now
a
it's
lot
strength
of times,
in Kevin Durant.
Correct. And a lot of times their bench play quality minutes in order to maintain leads, extend leads. And also, when you have big leads, especially in the fourth quarter, you're going to need those guys to finish the game so Steph Curry can sit on the bench like he did for 16-plus games last year. So the depth of your roster does play a big-time factor, but the big 4 that they have, I think you do make that sacrifice because they'll find a way to fill out their team.
The Pistons have done something fantastic. And, of course, I'm talking about Detroit basketball. They have solidified their center position with a very tall man. And, of course, I'm not talking about Andre Drummond. I'm talking about the future of the NBA. I'm talking about future MVP, future Hall of Famer, the man, Boban. Boban is in Detroit. How excited are you for Boban's arrival? Will the fans be flooding the street at the airport? What is going to happen? Is he the new face of the franchise?
A large human being that can dunk the basketball without jumping. And also, when you have Andre Drummond, who's going to get a long-term deal, and a poor free throw shooter, and sometimes he's had issues staying on the floor, whether it be foul trouble or late in games not being able to step up to the line and make those shots, you're going to need depth at that position. And also, I truly pay attention to trends. And the one thing that I see, which is a smart thing, pro teams do this a lot. They'll not only draft a player, but a lot of times they'll draft a college. So don't be surprised when you see Brandon Ingram get taken by the Lakers and then they go get Luol Deng at free agency. Or you see the Philadelphia 76ers take Okafor and then they're going to get Elton Brand to come be his mentor. So this is what I see from the Detroit Pistons. They got Lauer and now they get Boban. They both came from the San Antonio Spurs tree, which means those guys are going to be disciplined, understand how to work and how to play a role.
And there's also consistency from Stan Van Gundy. He's like, you know what? I know everybody wants to be small. I know everybody wants to be small, but guess what? The way I play basketball is with one large person in the middle, surrounded by 4 people on the outside, and I'm not changing that.
How about the Phoenix Suns? Look at their roster. They have 5 players from the University of Kentucky playing on that team. So a lot of times that's what organizations do. They don't just draft players, they draft colleges, or they draft players that they've seen come from successful organizations.
We're celebrating the music of Kanye West today.
Oh, you didn't think we can do it again? Twister, Kanye West, from Pope Pimpin' to Poppin' Tags, from champions to slow jamming. Oh, baby, we can even make you an overnight select. Know what I'm saying?
You don't have a lot of problems. You don't get in a lot of beefs. You don't talk negatively about a lot of people. That's not your thing. That's just not the human being that you are, and I like that about you. However, there are a few names that every time I bring them up, you don't have something so nice to say, and one of those names is in the news today. And, of course, I'm talking about the resignation of Larry Brown from the Southern Methodist University Mustangs head coach basketball position. When you saw this news, what did you think?
A Hall of Fame coach, the only guy to lead teams to championships on the collegiate level, did it with Kansas. On the NBA level, did it with my Detroit Pistons. Yes, he gave me 15 DMPs my first year in Indianapolis.
Sure did.
But he did bury the hatchet and apologize to me like a man, and I accepted it and moved on. The first thing I thought about when I saw this news is they must didn't give him the money that he asked for. Because here's what happens, unfortunately, when you're 75 years old and you decide to go back to college like he did a few years ago. Each team that he left during his tenure at the NCAA, sanctions followed. UCLA, Kansas, and now SMU with the Kevin Frazier academic saga. So if you're the school and you already hired his coach in waiting and he's trying to get a multi-year deal, but he's the guy that got you on probation, and he's the guy that, while you have been on probation, you have not had the turnaround success that you thought you would have. You balk at the negotiating table. So I think they fell out because of finance, not necessarily because he didn't want to coach the team anymore.
Reportedly, he wanted a long-term deal. Like, he wanted a 5-year deal, and Southern Methodist was like, wait a second, you're 75 now, and you want us to sign you to a contract so you'll still be the head coach here, being very well paid at 80 years old. Do you know what they said to that?
He was trying to get that parachute package that he got with the Knicks. Remember, they paid him $35 million to only coach one season.
That's crazy. Floyd Mayweather is in the news again, and this is for a new business venture that he's starting. Floyd Mayweather is opening a gentleman's establishment called Girl Collection in Las Vegas. One thing that Las Vegas does not need is another gentleman's club. What do you think is his motivation for this, Mr. Rose?
For him and his lifestyle, this is absolutely brilliant.
What?
Because, like Biggie said, he's not only the client, he's the player president. He's saving himself money by doing this. He can write off all of the money that he spends on his own spot. You see celebrity brand endorsers. When you see Shaq in a Buick commercial, you say, he can't fit in that car. I'll pay you anything to get in that car. But then when you see Snoop selling vaporizers, you're like, oh, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, hearing Floyd doing this, it makes sense for his lifestyle.
True or false, Dominique Wilkins had his own nightclub in Atlanta?
He did.
True or false, you've patronized that nightclub?
I've been there, done that.
You've been there and done. Does it still exist?
No, sir.
What was happening inside Dominique Wilkins' nightclub?
A lot of fun. Dominique Wilkins was the man in the ATL with that hot top fade, doing double pump dunks during the game, taking on Michael Jordan dunk contest, putting up 50 points on his way to being a Hall of Famer statue outside of the arena. Dominique is and was that dude.
What was it called? Was it called Dominique's? Please tell me it was called Dominique's.
I think so.
Okay.
How about this? At a time at that time when he was in the ATL, not only was he there, but the gentleman over my shoulder, Neon Dion, Primal Fear was there too. And they was tearing it up. I'm telling you, they was turning it up.
The LA Rams, formerly the St. Louis Rams, have officially gone Hollywood. There's now an announcement that they will have a reality show on E! Network that will follow 6 of them as their families move from the Midwest to Los Angeles. I cannot think of a worse idea for a football franchise than to have 6 of your players in... Oh, Jalen, wake up. Jalen, wake up. Jalen, wake up. Jalen.
Did you say the Rams?
Jalen, wake up. The Rams. Jalen,
when do they play a meaningful football game again?
Jalen, wake up. Wait. What? We've lost Jalen Rose. All right, we'll get him back. Clear. Every time I try to talk about a reality show, you just fall asleep. Every single time. Is there any reality show that you watch?
No, sir.
I've been on that Southern Charm lately, The Challenge lately. Bachelorette's got to come back. It's been a while. What do you think about Aaron Rodgers' brother and The Bachelorette? You're watching that, right?
Here's what we're not going to do in this fine program. I'm absolutely not watching that. We're not going to force football topics for a sport that doesn't play a meaningful game until September.
But we will force NBA topics for a sport that doesn't play a meaningful game until October. Don't get it twisted.
No, because you see players signing multi-million-dollar contracts every day. That's why we're talking about the
Alan
NBA.
Crabb just signed for $75 million. And no one wants to give Lance Stevenson the minimum? No one can give Lance the minimum?
Hey, man, let me tell you something about the popularity of the NBA, and this is why guys are getting those deals. A guy could go off and have a good quarter in Summer League and be trending nowadays.
I know.
All right?
Have you been watching Ben Simmons' Summer League? I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm watching every single second of the game, but I am watching the highlights, and I am very impressed by Ben Simmons' passing ability. However, it's early. Homeboy has taken 17 shots from the field in his NBA career thus far. He has made 4 of those. Do you think his lack of scoring ability will eventually be a problem as he gets figured out by NBA players?
I understand that he's more of a playmaker than a shooter, but with his size at 6'10", 225, he's going to be able to fill up the stat sheet to the point where his assists, his rebounds, the intangibles that he brings to the floor can supplement his offensive game, but it won't overshadow it. The game is so very hard when you cannot shoot.
Yep.
And ultimately, when you aren't able to shoot not only from mid-range, but from distance, teams can zone up. So yes, I have been watching Summer League, and I'm actually paying more attention to the Chicago Bulls team because my nephew, Raymond Morgan, is balling for them.
Who's Raymond Morgan?
My nephew.
Your nephew, Raymond Morgan? I've never heard the name Raymond Morgan in my life. So tell us a little bit about Raymond Morgan, your nephew here.
He's playing for the Bulls Summer League. He was playing overseas on and off the past 5+ or so years. He just married my niece, Natalie, last Friday.
Oh, congratulations, Mr. Morgan. So Raymond Morgan's playing Summer League, but Lance Stevenson cannot get signed by a team. Do you think Lance Stevenson will be on an NBA team next year? Please say yes.
I do, but if I'm him, I do whatever I have to do to go to Indianapolis, be in front of the facility every morning until Larry Legend signs.
Just bring
That's
coffee.
all I'm trying to do.
Bring coffee, bring donuts, bring Danishes, whatever Larry likes. Just be outside with it. Larry, would you like a salad? Do you want dressing on the side or do you want dressing mixed in? What would you like,
Totally.
Larry? Is there anything I can do for you, Larry? Anything? Please? The minimum? Something? Can I get a uniform? Anything? No? Larry?
But he's also a cautionary tale as you see a lot of these young players' contractual obligations, like a Kent Bazemore, for example, ascend after 2 seasons. Lance was in Indiana, and he chose to leave to go to Charlotte. He had a 3-year deal. The first 2 were guaranteed, and he went after the money. It didn't go so well in Charlotte. Then he landed with the Clippers. It didn't go so well. And before you know it, you're looking for a job like he is right now. I do think he's an NBA talent. I do think he will respond. I am rooting for Lance, but I hope it's in Indianapolis because I saw Larry Bird nurture him from a player that he drafted and basically had in street clothes for a year to put him in position to be an NBA professional. So I think that will eventually be his landing spot.
Celebrating the work of Kanye West today on Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. Championship in the NBA this year?
LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
They sure did. Well, here's what Richard Jefferson said about next year. Quote, "We're the defending champions, but we know the truth. They're the team to beat." Are they now painting themselves as this underdog, as you said, David and Goliath? I feel like the Cavs are saying, we're David. Don't forget, we're David now. It's almost like they want to be the underdogs. They want the narrative to be that there's a super team in the West that's guaranteed to be the champions. Seems like the Cavs thrive off of this, don't you think?
I wish somebody would have asked Richard Jefferson what type of condoms did he have in that bowl in his loft. That's really what I want to hear from him.
If you don't know, there was a writer that told a little story about, some time that she spent with Richard Jefferson and his friends, and he had a big apartment in Tribeca, and he had a screening room in that big apartment, and in the screening room he had a large salad bowl filled with condoms. And I don't know why, but Jalen Rose keeps asking what kind of condoms they were.
I think that, of course, the Golden State Warriors are the favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy that Richard Jefferson got a 2-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
But who's the underdog and who's the favorite? That's just strictly based on betting lines. That is not a storyline. That's a betting line. So it is what it is.
Here's another thing about the Cavs is there's not a lot of competition for them in the Eastern Conference. Like right now, Jalen Rose, I'm going to look at you and say, what team will be the biggest threat to topple the Cavs' dominance of the Eastern Conference this year? Can you name a franchise?
There won't be one. But here's what happened in the East. Teams created storylines. The Bulls adding Dwayne Wade.
Mm-hmm.
The moves that the Knicks did, adding Rose, adding Noah.
Mm-hmm.
The Hawks adding Dwight Howard. That's 3 teams that added native sons to their rosters. So now all of a sudden, when those teams play each other, you have a storyline, you have advertising, you have marketing, you have stands that are full, you have conversations about those games. But when the smoke clears, the Cleveland Cavaliers will be in the NBA Finals.
Well, Celtics owner Wick Grusbeck has something to say about that. He said, quote, "I feel the phones are definitely ringing. Danny is definitely talking to people for sure and has indicated that our work is not yet done." What does he mean by that?
He need to start tapping Danny Ainge's phone, because all I've been hearing from the Celtics is from the last year and a half is moves they almost did.
What we're going to do,
they were
what we should do, what we almost did, what we kind of did, what we were looking at.
You know what you're not hearing from the other 29 teams? Deals that almost happened.
Mm-hmm.
We're hearing a lot of that from the Boston Celtics, and here's why. When they gathered all of those picks, when they fleeced the Nets,
assets. How many times have you heard the word assets associated with the Celtics? They have so many assets. Like, all right, they don't have basketball players or wins. How about that?
But they did do a great job, and this is something even the Knicks have not been able to do. They did acquire a current all-star in Al Horford.
Mm-hmm.
I give them a lot of credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
They have drafted well in Avery Bradley, Jalen Brown,
Marcus
Smart. And also, they fleeced the Phoenix Suns for a player that became an all-star, 5'9" point guard, Isaiah Thomas.
Could you see, let me just throw some guys that might be wearing the green, and you tell me what percentage out of 100 do you see that happening? Okay? Jalen Rose, you ready?
Let's get it.
Boogie DeMarcus Cousins.
0.
Okay. Russell Westbrook.
0.
Wow. Jahlil Okafor. Oh, he's hesitating. He's
45%.
45% chance that Jahlil Okafor is in the green. I find that really interesting. I could see that happening. But one thing I want to just correct Mr. Grusbeck on when he says, I feel the phones are definitely ringing, it's the other way around. Danny Ainge is making calls. Those are outgoing calls. Those are not incoming calls. The phone is not ringing. He's texting. He's calling. He's getting a lot of voicemails. He's leaving a lot of messages and then not getting calls back. But I do think it's interesting that they are on Front Street. The owner is saying that our work is not done yet for the summer. So now you're putting the onus on the franchise to make a move, or else your fan base is going to be disappointed. Do you think they will add someone else to their roster before tip-off on opening day?
I do. I think they got a chance to add another player that could possibly be a starter. And when you talk about the Celtics and Danny Ainge and players moving around, whether it's KD leaving OKC, whether it's LeBron back and forth from Cleveland, whether it's Dwayne Wade leaving the Heat, I always remember when I returned with Larry Bird as my head coach for the Pacers to Boston, where he had so much Hall of Fame success.
Yep.
And seeing him not with that franchise. Now seeing Michael Jordan not with the Bulls or the Wizards franchise. So it always reminds me that this is not a business, man. It's a business, man.
Last name Buckets, first name Mo. Now, you know when David West signed with the Warriors, they didn't have room for both David West and Mo Buckets. Now, Maurice Spates has signed a multi-year deal with the Los Angeles Clippers, a Clippers team that hasn't done too much in free agency besides lose Jeff Green. Will Mo Buckets be a difference maker for the Clippers?
Here's what I want everybody to look at for the Clippers. And I'm sorry if you've heard me say this the last 5 years. I just don't understand. Like, please get the buzzer when I name these guys.
All right, Reggie got the buzzer.
They have 4 terrific starters.
Okay.
In their backcourt, there's CP3 and JJ Redick.
Okay.
Up front, there's Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan.
Okay.
We know about the 6th man of the year, Jamal Crawford. And even Austin Rivers has developed into a player.
I like Austin Rivers.
Is it me or there's consistently been a hole at the small forward spot? Let me name some of the guys that they tried to fill it with.
The list is so long. I'm going to fall asleep. Just wake me up when you're done.
In no particular order. Grant Hill, Steven Jackson, Josh Smith, Lance Stevenson.
Bob Mute. Don't forget,
Bob
don't forget him. That didn't work out.
They drafted the kid from Carolina.
Karan Butler was there for a while.
Karan Butler. Like, I just don't understand. Is it me? Am I?
It's not you. It's not you.
Listen, let me tell you something. If you're going to play in the Western Conference, who's the best player on the San Antonio Spurs?
The best player on the San Antonio Spurs is Kawhi Leonard.
Okay, he's a small forward. He's a wing player.
He is.
Okay, you got to go against Kevin Durant, a former MVP. You got to go against Klay Thompson, who's an all-star player. Like, every night you show up, LeBron James plays on the wing. Like, I just can't understand why there's still a hole at the small forward spot for the Clippers. I really can't.
There was a lot of rumors at the end of last year. A lot of rumors about a potential trade involving Blake Griffin. And this was obviously on the back of his injury by punching the assistant equipment manager in the face multiple times in Toronto. How come we haven't heard any of those rumors in free agency this summer?
How about this? You go show up to pitch Kevin Durant to come to the Clippers. And Chris Paul isn't there?
Nope.
So he goes to the Golden State Warriors pitch. He like, these dudes serious. He said they basically came in holding hands.
They got virtual reality helmets.
Okay? And so, again, and by the way, you don't blame players for missing meetings to pitch players, but if you're truly about adding that guy, you hope everybody's in the room. But somebody help me. Please help me. Please give me a list of the last. Matt Barnes, they could have went out and got him back. He was the best 3 that they.
Barnes back.
Hey, man, just go to a commercial. I don't understand.
If you listen to Tidal or Spotify or SoundCloud or Apple Music, or if you just buy vinyl and spin it, get yourself some Cameron this weekend.
Yes.
One of the best to do it. You're listening to Jalen Rose and David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. For some reason, Reggie's laughing at me in the control room. Apparently, he's not a Cameron fan.
What?
What? Okay. Oh, wait.
Exactly. What?
Reggie.
Hold on.
Wait a second. We might have to make some. We might have to change the roster of the staff.
Hold on. Whoa.
We might have to change
you know what we having Tuesday for real.
Hold on a second. Our producer just said that Cameron was, quote, hot garbage.
What?
It's been a pleasure working with you, Reggie.
I want to go.
Basketball camp, and you always see video from these camps. You always see Steph Curry, making some 10-year-old fall over on the basketball court. You see Aaron Gordon dunking or whatever it is. You always see those highlights. But what you don't see is how the camp works. Well, Michael Bennett, who has a free camp, had something to say about Steph Curry's camp. He said Steph Curry's camp is $2,000 per child. And he's calling out Steph Curry saying, why don't you do this for free? Why aren't you doing this for charity? Why do you insist on profiting from your basketball camp? What do you think about this topic, Mr. Rose?
This is one of those topics that become interesting because it's almost like asking athletes to be philanthropic or having foundations and judging those that don't. This is the same topic for me. As I see a lot of money getting thrown around in the NBA, that's what I encourage athletes to do, to try to do what they can to be socially and politically conscious. Don't just stand up or send a tweet when something negative happens. Don't just bring flowers to the funeral, bring soup when we're sick. Give back to the communities that support you. I'm all about that. I'm living that. I was also one of those type of people as a player that I did not want to have one of those expensive basketball camps. But then you realize the term, what's expensive to somebody? So is $150 too expensive? Is $500 too expensive? Is $2,000 too expensive? What are the kids getting in return? Are they getting goods? Are they getting shoes? Are they getting autographs? Are they getting pictures? It's almost like the face value of a ticket. When you go to an NBA Finals game, the face value of the ticket might say $1,000, but somebody probably paid $25,000 for it. So I understand both sides of this, but for me, I personally would not want to be attached to a camp that was charging individuals $2,000.
But let me just give it Steph Curry's perspective really quickly. Now, I don't know what the ins and outs of his camp is or what the financial deal is or whatever, but here's what I think Steph Curry is saying. He's like, did you just not see me playing Game 7 of the finals 3 weeks ago? I'm not setting up this camp. This is not a camp. My name is on it and I show up, but I'm not the people that run the camp. I don't set the pricing for the camp. I show up for the camp and we have a good time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that he's sitting there like making sure that they profit off of this camp. I think he just shows up and he trusts the people that organize it. And he says to Michael Bennett,
we disagree. And again, by no means am I blaming him, because again, who can determine what's too expensive? Is $50 too expensive? Is $500 too expensive?
It's too expensive if there's no kids there.
Right. So, but I disagree on your premise, and here's what I mean. When you sign up and you know that they're going to run with your name, the question, how much is this going to cost, does get asked. And when that question is asked, somebody from your camp, in particular, you, has to greenlight that number.
I don't think that anyone's making rich off of this basketball camp. I think that they're covering their costs. There's probably a few staffers that have a nice little salary that they work on, but I don't think this is necessarily like a get-rich-quick scheme. But the price point is pretty high. As someone with kids, there's no way I'm paying 2 stacks for 1 week of basketball camp for one of my children. No chance.
It all depends on what you get in return, because that $2,000 could be a bargain. If Steph Curry promises to come to your school, is he going to take multiple pictures with everybody in the family? Are you getting an autographed jersey and shoes? Are you getting an autographed ball? Is he going to give you special instructions?
Could be an overnight camp with 3 meals. Yes. It could be a lot.
Correct.
It could be a lot.
Correct. So when you see that, make sure that you pay attention to all of the costs attributed. And by the way, make sure you come to the Fab 5 camp early August, 1st to the 5th, being put on by my brothers, Juwan Howard, Jimmy King, and Ray Jackson. I'm going there to represent also.
Good. Ayesha Curry.
Ayesha.
What's the next line? Was a girl I never knew? I never understood that. Was a girl I used to know? I never knew what the next line was. The girl I never had? I never understood that song. Ayesha was a girl I never had? Then why are you singing about her?
Hey, but I know one thing. Jermaine Dupri, he had that special put out a hit on some youngsters, Formula, with Usher, with Bow Wow, with ABC. Mm-hmm. So
ABC
whatever
was
he
hot.
touched.
Was it Criss Cross was his too? Yeah.
Criss Cross, no doubt.
Well, Ayesha Curry's in the news because she has just signed up for a brand new cooking show on the Food Network. It is going to take you behind the scenes and into the Curry kitchen. And guess who else is going to be featured on this show? Not just Ayesha Curry, Riley Curry, Steph Curry. All of the Currys are going to be there. Are you going to watch the Ayesha Curry Food Network show?
I won't watch.
I know you won't watch.
So no.
Okay. He's like, no. The answer to that one is going to be a no. So we talked a lot, probably too much to be honest, about the nuptials of Sierra and Russell Wilson. And one of the reasons it was sort of interesting because they had promised to be celibate until they were married, and now they are married. So we all sort of assume that we know what's going to happen after someone gets married. But you don't have to assume that. Because, of course, in 2016, Sierra went on to her Snapchat, and her and Russell were talking all about their bedroom business. In my mind, this is way too much information. This is oversharing. What do you think?
I wonder if they signed a prenup. That's what I think.
That's what you want to know, if they signed a prenup. I guarantee they signed a prenup. Why wouldn't you? Of course they have a prenup. Who do you think makes more money? Who do you think has more to lose? You think Russell?
I think they both have something to lose.
Well, we wish them the best.
But here's the thing. I want to give Russell Wilson a lot of credit because I followed his journey from NC State to Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. He's always been disciplined. He's always been respectful. He's always been responsible. I see him as one of the guys. I normally temper comments of saying somebody are who I think they are behind closed doors. He's one of the guys I'll put a stamp on his envelope. That's a good dude. So he deserves to be happy. He's a Super Bowl champion. Sierra's a star in her own right. She created her own name. She created her own brand. I love them as a couple, and I like their Instagram posts. I like their Snapchats, and I hope seeing that type of love and that type of respect for one another and them talking about being celibate may challenge a young man out there to be more disciplined, may challenge a young girl out there to think along those lines. So I salute them.
I didn't know Kanye made this beat. Yeah. It's a great song. We're celebrating the music of Kanye West today. This is the game. Dreams. The game has game. I see him at the Drew League. Doesn't play a lot of defense, the game. Not looking for a lot of defense from him. When the other team has the ball, he stands at half court and just waits for a run out. He doesn't even go. He doesn't even get inside the three-point line. He just stands there. But when he gets a run out, it's exciting. He's throwing alley-oops to everybody.
But I can't front. Left wing, three, he can knock that down.
He can hit. He can play ball. Like, dude is a legit basketball player.
Yeah, I can't front.
I'm impressed by him. We're
I need to go out there and run. That's all good.
Can I make up for it by announcing that we are going to play Family Feud?
Yeah!
On August 14th in the year 2016, Jalen Rose will have a team of people representing him playing the Family Feud game. And in preparation of that, Jalen Rose has honored me with a spot on the roster, which I might lose because we are terrible at this game. But to practice, we play Family Feud on ESPN Radio on Jalen Jacoby, and we are joined by our esteemed producer. Playing the role of Steve Harvey is none other than John Lawrence. What's up, John?
What up, Doe?
What up, Doe?
These questions are a lot harder than yesterday's. You guys did really well yesterday.
Okay, so he stepped it up, Jalen.
All right.
Let's get it.
Top 5 answers are on the board. We asked 100 people to name a Shakespeare character who most people have heard of.
I got it. I'm on it. You didn't even slap yourself in the face. You have to slap yourself in the face as the buzzer. Jalen Rose didn't even try. I'm going to go number 1 on the board. I guarantee it, Romeo.
Number 1.
All right, I will take this one, and I will proceed to embarrass myself. My parents are going to be so disappointed in me. All right, Steve, you ready?
Go ahead.
Let's go Juliet, number 2.
Number 3 on the board.
Let's go Macbeth.
Number 4 on the board.
Let's go Mercutio.
No.
How many answers is it?
There are 5.
Okay. Oh, God. There's one where the title is a king. Oh, my God.
Oh, I know that one.
Oh, my mom just disowned me. Oh, no. I'm sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. Oh, King, oh, no. Okay. Horatio.
No.
You can tell I've recently read Romeo and Juliet. Oh, this is harder than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
No, Jalen knows too. King George?
No.
King Steve?
That's 3
King
strikes.
LeBron?
I got this.
All right, Jalen Rose wants to steal.
I got this.
Oh, he's so proud of
Macbeth.
himself. I said that.
He already said that.
I said that.
Oh, you already said that?
All right, so now who you got, Mr. Confidence over there?
Is it Antonio something?
No.
Antonio McDice?
Antonio Davis.
Antonio Davis? Antonio Brown? Who's the last one?
You guys missed Hamlet and Othello.
Oh, God, Hamlet. Oh, man.
All right, Jacoby won that one.
Oh.
Yeah, he did.
Did I, though? Did I really?
Top 5 answers are on the board. We asked 100 people. If you could choose your neighbors, which traits would you look for?
All right, boom.
Go, Jalen.
All right, what neighbor traits would I look for?
Yes.
Quiet.
Number 1 answer.
Oh, yeah. All right, take this one, Jay.
All right, how many answers is it?
There are 5.
The other trait I would look for is friendly.
Number 2 answer.
Oh, Jalen.
Okay. The other trait I would look for is I don't know what this called, but neighbors you can borrow stuff from.
No.
No, it's not on there, Steve? No? Neighbors you can borrow stuff from doesn't even fit on the blue card. Can borrow stuff from.
This works both ways, but it works in your favor when you're gone and somebody may break in your house. So nosy neighbor.
Oh, you're not looking for that, Jalen.
No.
Okay. I'm telling you, one thing we're learning is like you can get 3 real quick, and then it's tough.
All right. So the last thing you want from your neighbors is how about neighbors that can cook?
No.
All right, is that 3, Steve?
No, that was 2. There's 3
Okay.
left.
All right. What about
I got
having
it. Oh, you missed a big one.
What about neighbors that
Don't say it what you're thinking, Jalen. I know you're thinking don't say it.
neighbors that you can carpool with?
No.
What?
No.
All right. I really want to say attractive, but I won't. I'm going to say clean, Steve. Do I have
Number
clean?
4 answer.
What are the other ones?
You have... Oh, yeah, that's right. Attractive. You should have said attractive. That was also number 5.
Whoa!
And
That's
number
very
3 was
nice.
trustworthy.
Trustworthy. Oh, okay. I guess that's someone you can borrow stuff from.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's not.
No.
Jalen's like, I want neighbors that leave the door unlocked.
Top 5 answers are on the board. We asked 100 people to name a sport you can't compete while wearing shoes.
Oh, I got swimming.
Number 1.
Hockey.
Number 3.
Figure skating.
No.
Skiing.
No.
What? Boxing?
No.
See,
Boxing.
you're wearing, those are boots, those aren't shoes. Why are you laughing at Jalen Rose? You steal this one then. You're laughing. Go ahead, steal it. Steal it then, Mr. Rose.
So, name a sport that you
don't repeat
compete
the
in without wearing
question. You're
shoes.
stalling. I know you. You're stalling.
You don't wear shoes in this sport?
Right.
What about, man?
Oh, I got one.
Give me a second.
You have second. You've been stalling for 2 minutes.
What about, I got it, UFC.
UFC.
You know what?
MMA.
I'm going to accept that.
You're going to accept that?
Martial
Wrestling.
arts, yes.
Martial arts, that's
Yeah.
fair. I would accept that too. All right, so you stole. Do we have another topic, Steve?
We do.
Okay, great.
Top 5 answers are on the board. We asked 100 people to
Come on,
name
John
something
Jones.
about Peter Pan that is different from the average boy.
Oh, I got it. Oh, that's me. Jalen didn't even slap himself in the face. I'm gonna say the fact that he can fly that's probably number one.
Answer.
How about the fact that he never ages? I'm going with that.
Yes, number 3.
Okay. How about the fact that he's being chased around by a crocodile all the time? No.
No, Captain Hook
That's
is
very
chased by
nice.
the crocodile.
Oh, Captain Hook is chased by the.
Hook
Yeah, I'm
chases
sorry.
Peter Pan.
All right. So, repeat the question, please, Steve. I.e., I'm stalling.
Name something about Peter Pan that is different from the average boy.
Wears terrible outfits. Wears a lot of green.
I'll accept that.
That's what I was going to say.
Wears tights.
Wears tights. That is different. All right, how many more?
Two more.
Two more?
You got this.
He uninvited climbs into other people's windows.
Not even close.
Not even close. No? That's kind of creepy. All right. Is that my third strike or my second?
That's second.
All right. So we got the clothes. We got the flying. He's androgynous.
No.
Okay. Didn't think that would be up there. Jalen, would you like to steal?
I would.
Do you know who Peter Pan is?
I do.
Okay.
So what about...
Peter Pan just signed a contract with the Nets for $75 million.
What about he wears a feather on his cap?
No. I like that guess, but no. You guys missed. He's small, and he has pointy ears.
Okay,
which I didn't know about.
All boys are small. Like what? Wait, what?
We polled the audience. This is what they said.
That's very nice, John Lawrence.
People send their questions to @Jalen and Jacoby, and we answer them because we... Now, normally I pre-screen the questions. We're going to have a little fun with it today. I'm not going to pre-screen the questions. I have no idea what we're about to see, so let's get it. First question is from King Lex. King Lex wants to know... Do you think athletes today are more or less sensitive to social issues because of their brand?
I think athletes are less likely to involve themselves in social and political instances. One, because unfortunately they're not as read and as knowledgeable about the topics from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
Two, they don't understand the power of their platform that sports carries. You hear about it, for example, when someone like an icon like Muhammad Ali dies, but you don't see people acting on it when scenarios happen. I think the third thing is the brand and multiple people in your ear saying, hey, you might want to be careful attaching yourself to that movement or to that cause because it could affect the sponsors and the endorsers that you work with.
Well put. Next question is from Bacon Sports. Big shout to Bacon Sports. They once sent me a yellow flag that I could throw around the office. Is it true that Jacoby wrote 500 sports trivia questions to get a job? I'll answer that one, Jalen. Yes, it is true. I have worked at ESPN since I was in college. I was an intern at MTV. I was at NYU, and I saw an ad for someone to write trivia questions for ESPN the magazine. I called up. Gentleman answered the phone and said, yeah, we need 500 trivia questions. I said, no problem. He said, I need them in 48 hours. I said, no problem. He said, oh, one more thing. You can't use anyone's name because this is a sponsorship deal, so you can't associate any athletes. I said, no problem. And I hung up the phone. I looked at my roommate and I said, I have absolutely no idea how in the world I'm going to be able to write 500 trivia questions in 2 days without using anyone's name. However, I did it in 24 hours, and I wrote him and I said, I just wanted to give these to you a day early in case you wanted to look at them and change them. And he said, that is the kind of hustle I like. Why don't you come in for an interview? And I have not been fired since.
I have the biggest question, though. The biggest question.
Okay.
What's his name?
Jamie Blattstein.
There you go.
Big shout to him. Jason Shute wants to know, what is your favorite cereal? And he adds his favorite cereal, which is an excellent cereal by the name of Fruity Pebbles. What is your go-to favorite cereal?
So it's evolved over the years. Basically, it was anything with a lot of sugar that I could pour with milk.
Okay, that's all cereals.
Right, so it was Frosted Flakes, Fruity Pebbles, Honeycomb, everything, all of those. Mm-hmm. You just mix them all up once the bag started to get low.
So I have this. Here's my thing on cereals, and I do have a thing on cereals. I don't have a favorite cereal because I like variety. I always want to have Heinz ketchup. I'm loyal to Heinz. I like that flavor of ketchup. All of the ketchups don't taste as good as Heinz ketchup. However, when it comes to cereal, I want a new cereal in my cupboard every single week. I want to switch it up. I want to go from Cinnamon Toast Crunch and then Honey Bunch of Oats the next week. And then I want to go into maybe some Honey Nut Cheerios the next week. And then I want to flip it into some Kicks the next week. I like to keep it moving with my cereal options.
I like that. That's well said. And that goes back to what we talked about, the miniature version. You get to switch it up when you have the smaller boxes.
Yes. Again, if you didn't listen to the show yesterday, the miniature version of food is always superior to the large version of the food, like a slider to a burger or a cocktail weenie to a hot dog, because you get more variety. You get to mix it up. Next question we have is from the Chosen One. Big shout to King Lewis, who sends us questions every single day. Thank you very much, the Chosen One. Favorite Mexican food dish? A lot of food questions today.
Can I go Mexi Melt?
Yeah, you can go Mexi Melt for Taco Bell.
Yes, indeed. Mexi Melt.
I always look at the menu and I always end up ordering the same thing, which is beef enchiladas. Someone look up Jim Gaffigan's bit about Mexican food. It is hilarious. Next, we have JB, J Exclusive. He wants to know, do you think Dwayne Wade will be booed next season in Miami? That is a good question and is not food related. Jalen Rose, will Dwayne Wade be booed?
I got a curtain for you real quick.
Take us behind the curtain, Mr. Rose.
He will not be booed, but you can pull back some footage of me talking about the fraternization that he and LeBron James were doing when those two teams played each other. Mm-hmm. And I remember specifically saying, it looks good out there on the court, but I know one guy that's sitting about 15 rows in the stands is fuming right now watching this take place, and that's Pat Riley. So he's going to get the tribute that he deserves. And don't look at this like it didn't work out for both sides. Dwayne Wade got a 2-year, $47 million contract at this point of his career to go play in the Chicago area for a team that's going to be better with him on it than a team in Miami who didn't want to give him a $60+ million deal over 3 years that, in my opinion, was not going to make the playoffs with him on the roster.
That's a good point. I do kind of feel like this is mutually beneficial. I feel like there is a part of both of them that is happy that this relationship has ended. However, there are a lot of fans in Miami that are not. John Yee has an interesting question. If Jay-Z was a current NBA player, who would he be? High school crossover, waved away picks. One of my favorite Jay-Z lines.
So, you said NBA player or any athlete?
NBA player.
NBA player, I have to say LeBron. Because, yeah, here's why. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Jay-Z beat everybody at their own game, and then he got Beyonce to go with it. Now, just think about this. LeBron James left Cleveland, the team that drafted him from his hometown area. Did the decision, which was a disaster, did raise millions for charity, went to Miami, won 2 championships in 4 years, left the Miami Mafia, and told Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, I have a better chance of winning with Kevin Love and Kyrie, did a letter, left the #1 pick in the draft, Wiggins, out of the letter, promised to deliver a championship to Cleveland, and did it in the second season. Okay? With Jay-Z and Beyonce sitting on the front row for Game 6. I know because I was in the building.
You know what? I'm starting to like this comparison because, Jay-Z he was a rapper. He was coming out. He's distributing music. He was under a label. He started his own label. And then he has Tidal. Now he's got his own distribution platform. And it's sort of like LeBron, who used to push McDonald's. And then he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a piece of Blaze Pizza. I'm not going to be a pawn on the chessboard. I'm going to be the king. Good comparison. Last question we have from Jamie Fitch. Jamie wants to know, long term, is this free agency going to harm the NFL by luring the best athletes away for bigger dollars?
The NFL or the NBA?
He said the NFL, because basically what his premise is there's so much money being given away in the NBA that the best athletes growing up are going to trend towards basketball and not the NFL. And I'm going to answer this by saying this is you have to be an extremely special, strange, mutant human being to be a professional athlete. And it's not like there are so many people out there that just pick and choose whichever sport they can go pro in. It's extremely difficult to be a professional athlete. It's not like there are people at 12 or 13 or 14 saying, do I want to be a professional football player? Or do I want to be a professional baseball player? Or do I want to be a professional basketball player? Those people don't exist. You have to be a mutant to be a professional anything player. And NFL players are born that way and trained that way, and that is why it doesn't matter.
And certain body builds as well. If you have the body type of a Kevin Durant, football isn't an option. If you have the body type of an offensive or defensive lineman, usually basketball isn't an option.
I remember talking to a former athlete, professional athlete, and they said, if I watch a game of any sport between 13-year-olds, I can pick out a pro if there's a pro there. And I believe that to be true. Thank you so much for listening on ESPN Radio.
Thank you.
For tuning in on ESPN2 and ESPN
Thank
News.
You.
And for subscribing
Thank
to the
you.
Jalen and Jacoby podcast.
You're far too kind.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from the Fantasy Focus Football Podcast. Today on the show, Tristan Cockcroft and I talk about the steadiest players you want in 2016. Plus, Bengals running back Jeremy Hill stops by. Check it all out on the ESPN app. Just click on the Listen tab and click on Fantasy Focus Football.
This weekend, the Arizona Diamondbacks head to San Francisco to face the NL West leading Giants in the final weekend before the All-Star break. Saturday at 3 Eastern and Sunday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio.